Good evening. Oh, I'm on. I was too loud. This is the September 20th school committee meeting, Wareham School Committee. We're being broadcast by WCTV, even in this weather. Good job, WCTV. And an audio recording's being made by Mrs. Ruiz. And our first order of business is public comment. Would anyone like to come down and comment this evening? Seeing that I have no one coming, we will go on to our second item, good news. Does anyone have good news?
How about
Cliff?
Well, I wasn't going to say, you can say that. I
Okay.
was just going to say the Wareham Vikings football team has scored 40 points plus in 2 consecutive games. And our crosstown rival, as they say, Bourne, suffered mightily as a result. So
Very mightily.
congratulations to them.
And I would like to say congratulations to Dr. Cliff Sylvia, because as you know, in August, we nominated him for the Massachusetts Association of School Committee Lifetime Achievement Award. This is a state award for the entire state, and he is the winner. So congratulations, Dr. Sylvia. I know you're out there. And next, the minutes of the meeting of September 6th. Is there anyone who wants to make any substitutions, corrections, or a motion to accept?
I move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. And next, we have Beyond School Time Summer Program Report by Jane Fondulis. I've been waiting to hear about this, too.
No pressure, Jane.
Excited to hear about it.
Good evening. You can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The Beyond School Time office provided summer programming that included the 10-week Kids Summer Club, the 6-week Care Summer Camp at the middle school for students in grades K through 8, and high school sail program for grades 9 through 12. The Beyond School Time Kids Summer Club, a fee-based program, began on June 20th, Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., and ended on August 25th. Kids Club participants are involved in many camp activities focused in the arts, engineering, science, and fitness. They also had the opportunity to enroll in the Care Summer classes. The Care and Sail program began on July 10th and ended on August 17th. A total of 275 students were enrolled, along with 57 students enrolled in the BST Kids Summer Club. All curriculum is hands-on and project-based with a focus on service learning. This year's Care Summer Camp theme was hats, honor achieved through service. The programming focused on the many hats people wear in our community. Classes concentrated on reaching out to community members, and curriculum incorporated the various hats worn by these people. As everyone is aware, our first day began with the lockdown. When choosing the theme back in March, we had no idea that our first day would begin this way. This experience for the first day, as well as the many days to follow, embraced our theme. The theme remained the same, but it became incredibly personal to all the students, families, and staff. Our staff are invited to participate in many of the department-sponsored trainings and professional development. Over the last 3 years, many staff have attended the service learning training. This past spring, Deanna Semple, Rick Paling, and Jolene Mooney attended a 2-day training and technical support with Harkins Consulting. They are here tonight to give an overview of the 6-week program they did with the group of Care students this summer. This team did an exceptional job. Tracy Harkins commented on what they did in the short amount of time usually takes a team over 5 years. They also were asked to present the program at a state meeting. So I'm going to turn it over to Rick, Deanna, and Jolene.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Deanna Semple. This is Rick Paling and Jolene Mooney. And we appreciate the opportunity to showcase our program. As Mrs. Fondoulis said, we had a summer service learning class for the CARE summer program, and the theme was HATS, Honor Achieved Through Service. We adopted that theme, but we changed the acronym to mean Healthy Alternatives to Substance Use and Abuse.
We started off our program by creating a project overview circle. The topics the students explored were the proper and safe use of prescription drugs and substance use and abuse. We chose these topics because of the nationwide epidemic of overdoses that we are now facing. Our project involved partnering with the Brett Hastings Foundation and the local Substance Abuse Coalition. At the start of the program, students were presented with some startling statistics, listened to guest speakers, and were given background information on the proper use and abuse of prescription over-the-counter medications.
At the end of the project, our goal was to have students understand the service learning model, serve in both a leadership role and as a team member in order to create a collaborative environment, identify and apply systematic decision-making, and form community partnerships that heighten community awareness surrounding this growing epidemic.
The picture you now see on your screen is the picture of the kids' framework used to create the service learning model.
Okay, the first step in the kids' service learning framework is to define service learning for the students. The three key principles to service learning are apprentice citizenship, academic integrity, and student ownership. When we talk about academic integrity, we mean the service learning project grows out of the community needs, but is also an integral part of the curriculum. By linking the service learning project to curricular objectives, we, as teachers, play a facilitation role, excuse me, actively connecting their community experiences with lasting academic learning. One of the critical skills students need for the 21st century is civic literacy. When we talk about apprentice citizenship, students are learning how to effectively participate in and constructively contribute to our communities. Students develop this expertise in community issues by working closely with local experts, organizations, and government agencies. Service learning is also student-owned, so the students are the driving force in planning and implementing the project, gaining greater confidence and heightened enthusiasm for learning as they help define problems and implement solutions. Students learn that they have the power to make a difference.
As we follow along the kids' framework in the second step, this is where the academic component was introduced. Students started to research and learn about social issues surrounding the drug and alcohol use and abuse.
In step 3, students started to investigate the problem. They learned how to find out about the issues and decide on a topic. They started to understand the cause and the effect of the problem. This was accomplished through the use of the SWOT analysis, which means strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of our community, and through internet research.
In step 4, students researched the issue, listened to guest speakers who were knowledgeable in the topic of substance abuse in our community, and they asked questions. Students also participated in field trips, which emphasized teamwork and highlighted the healthy alternatives to substance abuse available in and around our communities.
In step 5, this is where the students decided on the project. Being student-driven, they used a decision matrix to decide how they would proceed with the project.
In step 6, students created an action plan. The action plan included students researched healthy alternatives to substance use and abuse and created a trifold pamphlet to hand out at the fundraising table at our care fair. Students researched and decided on what to sell at the fundraising table. Students took pictures, selected photos, and wrote a paragraph of their interpretation on the voice photo. Students wrote and practiced their skit that they created as an awareness of the growing epidemic to the care population in that afternoon.
One of our goals was to create effective teamwork among the students. So here's a picture of the students during a hike at Miles Standish Park. We hiked a 4-mile trail, and the students learned about nature and talked with the ranger there. During the hike, we were surprised at how some students whom we thought may lag behind were in the front of the line, taking a leadership role and really getting into the discussions with the ranger.
Now, Joanne Mooney is our expert resident hiker, but I ended up being the sweeper. And the sweeper is the guy in the back that ensures that everybody is on the trail and safe. And as we went along this is where I started to see the kids really become a team and work together. One kid was lagging behind, and to see the other kids bond around him and encourage him, started to build those guys and girls as a team. They were not all friends when they started the class. They were kids selected, randomly. And these experiences they had with these field trips really started to bond them. And it paid off when they really were working together and creating the ideas and working on their skits.
The YMCA ropes course, another field trip we went with there, and we participated in the high ropes and the low ropes courses. The ropes course is all about team building, trust, and challenge by choice. The students work together to overcome their own challenges and those of their teammates. Students could be heard telling the climber, "You can do this. You're doing a great job. Don't give up." You can tell from this picture on the right, we have a student in the blue shorts there. He was very reluctant to climb on the high ropes, which meant this is where the person on the left is actually on the high ropes. You're up about 30 feet up off the ground when you're doing that. And this, so as I said, this young man was reluctant to climb, but with the encouragement and support of his teammates, he did take several steps up on the pole, which was a significant gain for him and an accomplishment. He felt confident and he was excited to complete the rest of the low ropes triangle challenge.
Some of our other field trips were included Clay Chick Pottery Studio, excuse me, where students learned to trust one another as they shared their creative abilities, which can be challenging.
At the Hall of Patriots, again, when you walk in, you go upstairs, you view a 20-minute movie on the Patriots organization, and you see the emphasis placed on teamwork. The Patriots happened to be the first team in the NHL that refused to go out unless they were announced as a team instead of an individuals. And that seemed to seal the bond between these kids, and they started to understand it. And one of our SEL goals, social and emotional learning goals, was creating that collaborative environment, and you could see it was well underway.
The next step is celebration, which is building enthusiasm for project and celebrating the accomplishments that they had gained thus far. These are pictures from the newspaper article where students celebrated their work in Wareham Week. We also had an opportunity to celebrate as a representative from the State Department of Education came to monitor students' progress.
Here's the clipping of the newspaper article, which offered another way to celebrate student success.
And I just might add, and we might repeat, that part of this project is to create an awareness with the public, and the newspaper article did. We found that people responded in blogs below the newspaper article and started to create the awareness the kids wanted to have happen. But the next one was the public relations, and another big piece, another goal is to partner with a real life, community member such as the Hastings Foundation, and to make a difference. And this was the organization they chose to work to help.
The next step in the plan was to implement. They put a plan of action into place and they complete the project. They created a trifold pamphlet. Here's a partial look of the pamphlet that they created. And I do believe that over 200 pamphlets, or is that about 200 pamphlets or more than that, were passed out during the day of the care fair to parents and other students in the building.
In the picture to the left, you'll see the students, as part of their project plan, they created slime to sell. And another ingenious technique was those fidget spinners they ordered. And boy, did they make a profit on those in an amount of 2 hours we were sold out. On the right, you'll see them performing the skit. As I said, creating the awareness. We knew that solving the problem was beyond our scope. So we wanted to create an awareness so that anyone we could affect, and hopefully it would continue, that ripple effect throughout the community. So creating the skit for all the attendees to see, partnering with the Brett Hastings Foundation, are all part of ways we were able to create that awareness. But the kids drove it. They decided on the projects. The next part, Mrs. Semple's going to start, but we're going to hand out something for you to look at.
Yeah.
We thought was one of the most powerful features of what the kids did.
So this is photo voice. Photo voice is a qualitative method used to document and reflect reality and create social awareness. So the students, after a brief video on what photo voice is and how to accomplish it, they were allowed to take pictures, which they then chose 1 or 2 pictures and wrote a reflective paragraph on how the picture related to the issues that they were learning about, in this case, substance abuse. We brought some examples. We had a wonderful display at the care fair for the community members to see how the students created awareness. And as he said, it was very powerful.
As Deanna and I said at the beginning, part of the service learning program is that it takes real-life problems and connects them with the curriculum. The kids met objectives in both science, technology, math, ELA, and the arts, as you can see with the photo voice. They also met the goals of SEL, with the social emotional learning and the collaborative building. And we even provide frequent assessments. They had a pre and a post test, and 12 of the 13 students showed a marked increase in the score from the pre to the post test. And I think it's remarkable that kids in the summer who are tired and want a break are in there doing as much schoolwork as they're doing during the course of the school year. And I think it's a tribute to the service learning method of teaching with them. So it's a powerful tool. And Jane made a comment one day that normally there's 1 or 2 students that say, all right, I want to do this, but there was not one kid that opted to want to not participate in this program. And I think they were amazing. We learned as much as they did along the way.
And the last part of this is the implications for teaching and learning.
Well, I think I'm up.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But part of the process, too, is for the kids to reflect. And we just chose some random statements. They did a reflection piece where they were writing about what they thought of the program, and we just chose some random samples. You can see things like one student wrote, what I got out of this project is that helping my community has helped me to keep my community safe from falling apart. And I think those things are pretty powerful when they're, seeing that and they're participating and they're making a difference. Like the student that said that I learned I'm actually doing something good for a good cause. So they each took away some very powerful things from this program.
Impacts on the community were in a number of ways. So by creating an awareness of the severity of the problem, as Rick said, the public response to the blogs in the newspaper, there was some social media discussion. People responded on Facebook. Some actually attended the care fair that would not normally, just because they knew the Brent Hastings Foundation and they were familiar with it, so they wanted to help or they wanted to learn more about what we were doing. And again, work with the community groups, other community groups, and the funds that helped the foundation to assist young men in recovery.
I'm just going to add a little bit to it. I remember parents walking up to the kids at the care fair and questioning them to find out what they really knew. What is the Brett Hastings Foundation? What are you doing this for? And it was amazing to watch the kids be able to answer them and impress them. And that was part of the reason the Facebook, media, I remember seeing parents and teachers, going on there and looking at. And also, they became powerful advocates. They were able to have the ability to advocate for something, and I thought that was pretty amazing too. So the whole program for them, to watch them grow over that period and be the drivers, the leading force of this is amazing. So.
I just wanted to add one thing though, is during the summer care camp, students in the morning are in an academic class from 9 to 11:30. Most students get a class on Monday and Tuesday mornings, say it's wood shop. Wednesday and Thursday morning it might be robotics. This group of students stayed with this particular curriculum every day, all morning long, and some afternoons in order to do their off-site field experiences. So they dedicated a lot of hours to the program.
Yeah, they did, that's true.
And the very last part to this is the implications for teaching and learning and connections to the service learning. Facts and terminology were learned while developing explanations and designing solutions supported by evidence-based arguments and reasoning. Students conducted investigations, solved problems, and engaged in discussions with teacher guidance. Students discussed open-ended questions that focused on the strength of the evidence. Students developed summaries of information. There were multiple investigations driven by students' questions with a range of possible outcomes that collectively lead to a deeper understanding of the issues. Students wrote journals, reports, posters, and designed media presentations that explained and argued their service learning project. As you can see, it was quite an intense kind of 6 weeks for them, and this being my first service learning project that I've ever done, I have to say that I was very impressed with the level of dedication and determination and perseverance that these young students had to this program. I'm proud of these students that did this.
Yeah, they did an excellent job.
Yep.
Well,
That's
Dick,
one of the
you-
service
yeah.
learning programs. It's our most recent one. So.
Dick, you mentioned that you said the way of teaching is a powerful tool, but I also think it's a tribute to those of you who are running the program and presenting and being with those students every day. It's a tribute to you also, no matter what tools you have, that a program is successful. It has to do with people too. So, you did a great job. And I had a question. You said 275 students. Were they all in both parts of the program? Are they the ones, you said students were in the program in the morning with robotics and woodworking. It's the same cohort group?
All of the students that are enrolled in the CARE summer camp at the middle school, they are in a morning academic class Monday and Tuesday mornings, a different one Wednesday and Thursday. Then everybody has lunch, and then in the afternoon everybody has book club, and then the last class is more of a enrichment class, and it's a different one each day. Everybody does that schedule, except this group of 13.
Okay.
In order to really get through what the intention was, they needed to put more hours in, so they didn't get another choice in the morning. They have
Okay.
the same class all 4 mornings.
I understand it now, because I thought for a moment you had 275 students that you were doing all
yeah.
of this with also.
Right.
So I understand now. And I also have another question about those students. Because of the topic, because of the subject matter that you're working at, the problem with, drug abuse and I know overdoses, and it touches so many people. If you don't have someone in your family, you might know someone who had problems. Did these students, did this raise any issues with students, and did you have social emotional support on hand when you were working on this, if they needed it?
It did. They did discuss, some of what they knew from personal experience, be it someone they knew or something in their family. Yeah.
I think it was powerful for them to be able to discuss it. I think they felt comfortable in the arena we were in. And of course, we made sure to steer it in a positive direction. But I think they benefited from being able to be in that kind of setting to talk about it.
That small setting and the trust, you have built the trust, and like I said, it's the adults too, not just the tools of the program, but the adults delivering it that makes something like that successful. Okay, does anyone have questions, people? Joyce.
I'm just wondering if there's any continuation, or if it's just, it's over now. Is there any opportunity to continue what you've started?
Well, we plan on doing it again next year if we can, but.
Okay.
The service learning program, a curriculum this intense really works best in the 6-week summer program.
Okay.
Not to say that we don't do service learning during the school year. We do, but in this particular program, this would continue next summer.
Okay.
And it would continue, but it could take a different turn, because again, it's
Yeah,
student-driven,
it's
so it could be a
Yeah.
new group of kids, and it could go into a different area.
I just want to add, though, that Rick and I are part of the Wareham Substance Abuse Coalition, so we kind of are continuing our
Yeah.
work in it, but,
Well, I think it's great that you partnered with the Brent Hastings Foundation, too. A
yeah.
local
Yes.
connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we mentioned that they raised over $230 in that 2 hours towards that
Yeah, that's great.
foundation.
Yeah.
That's great.
They were proud.
I just have one more question. So the whole program, are you able to service every child who wants to come to care in the summer?
Yes, with the leveraging of resources this past summer, we pretty much, and especially with fee-based programming, we're able to, we don't turn away
Turn
anybody.
anyway. Okay, thank you.
Did you?
Why don't you go next? Oh, why don't you go?
Well, first of all, Joyce already asked one of my questions, which is good about continuation. My next question is, how were the students selected?
Well, the way, when all the registrations come in, we have such a short turnaround time, and with 275 students, it's impossible for them to be able to select their own classes, and especially when you're dealing with such a broad age group, where entering kindergarten and then all up to 12th grade. So on the registrations, I have a part where I give them an example of what the classes would be, and if they could just tell me what their child wouldn't want to participate in. Because I don't want a child to be miserable and be in a class that they absolutely didn't want to take. So I take that information, and then I sit and create all the schedules.
Okay, and then the next question I have is, because of how serious the problem is everywhere, I mean, it's not just in Wareham, is there any way to have these children that participated in this program somehow bring it back to their own home schools during the school year?
Yeah, because most of them are at middle school.
Yeah, I would
They're all
think they
middle
would
school.
love to perform their skit for their classes if they could. They did such a wonderful
They're all here at the middle
job.
school, because they were, in the summer, we placed them based on what grade they're entering in the fall.
Okay.
So they were actually exiting 4th and 5th grade?
Yeah.
Yeah.
4th and 5th grade, so they would be here.
Because as with other programs such as the, and it's missing it, the police program, the drug
DARE.
Oh, DARE.
DARE.
Yep.
I mean, research showed that it really wasn't that successful, and I think it's because it's just a one-shot deal, and it's important to just keep it going. So thank you, though, Rick and Deanna and Joanne, for all your hard work.
My colleagues have asked a bunch of good questions. I'd like to push into it a little bit. So how many kids were actually involved in the drug issue part of this?
13.
13, okay. I'm guessing, I'm sure you know the data better than I do, but my guess is that if the data would show that more than 1 out of 13 kids during their adolescent, et cetera, period experiment with drugs. So it's quite likely that 1 out of those or more of those 13 will or have even perhaps experimented. Do you have, to Mary's point, these 13, do you think they're a relatively random sample, or do you
Yeah.
think they're more at risk than others with
It was a
respect to
total
this?
random.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it was
it's
more of a
random.
random.
Pretty random.
sample. Yeah.
All
Okay.
random.
So with parental consent, obviously, what do you think would happen? What do you think is the possibility of actually following these 13 kids for a while? And literally, I hate to be obvious, but literally randomly taking a urine sample with their parents' permission, just to see what kind of impact this program has had on these kids. Because if you were able to show that because we know that 10,000 communities are trying to do something about this problem, right? If we were able to show that your impact, and imagine how you would feel, if your impact, none of these kids experimented, with drugs, but through high school, for example. What an awesome thing to be able to actually show. I'm sure you feel good about what you've done, and you've deserved to feel good about it. And imagine how you'd feel if you could track these kids, and let's say one of them slipped. Maybe you could even interview them and say, okay, what happened to cause you to slip? And that would also be incredibly powerful information. That stuff, those pictures, Michaela's statements are really powerful things. I would love to have some follow-through on this. So I know it may take some money, but if it's only 13 kids, a urine sample randomly, periodically, with parental consent, okay, might be really interesting follow-through data. That's really all I'm saying. But thank you. And Rick, the Patriots, if they're playing in the NHL, I really want to.
He's got hockey on the
I got
brain.
3 boys that play hockey, so I'm always
I had a
hockey.
feeling that was the case.
But those 13 students more than likely will be in the after-school program during the school year, and the summer they've been with us since they were at Deacon's, so.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
Follow them.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Well, if we don't see them in the newspaper, I guess that might be
I think you need to follow them a little closer than that. We don't want any names, but we'd love to hear about the 13, 1 through 13.
Got it.
I have one more question. You mentioned that the Department of Education came. Could you did they give you any feedback on your program, and what can you
Well-
share with us?
Well, Tracy Harkins has a consulting firm. She used to work for Kids Consortium, but she works with the Department of Education through the 21st Century grants. And Carol came too. And then they presented at the state meeting. But Tracy's the one that said the feedback was what they accomplished with this group of students in this 6-week period, and all the work they did prior getting it ready was very, very good.
Right. We were really excited about the topic, and I wanted to do it on this topic, and they were really gracious enough to kind of like jump on board and be as enthusiastic as I was. So I think our excitement too drove us to really go all in with it, and she recognized that. We were.
When she came down and she questioned the students, she wanted us to, back away. She wanted to talk to the kids. And it was amazing, Who decided what project you're gonna do? The kids, we did. We used the decision matrix. We picked this, we did. And I was like, I didn't have to say a word. They did all the talking, and she was spending an hour with them, and when she came out, she was like amazed at what they told her. So they were great.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when it's student-driven and when it's not, and you have
Absolutely.
conversations. Yeah. So that was what she was after, to see.
See how
It
they
was.
bought into the program.
Right.
Yep. They had they had a voice.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did.
Anyone else?
Great job.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for being here this evening.
And next, we have a report from Mr. Palladino on a high school report.
Excellent.
Well, thank you for having me here tonight. When Dr. Shaverhood asked if one of the schools would be willing to present information about their school, I pretty much jumped at the opportunity. I oftentimes feel that our elective offerings go unnoticed, and I felt like this would be a good opportunity to highlight those courses. As some of you may remember, in 2011, we reconfigured our schedule, and our teachers picked up an extra course apiece. And this allowed for us to enhance our course offerings, which would allow us to become aligned with the Mass Core requirements. As I mentioned, oftentimes these courses go unnoticed. It's not like DECA that you'll read about, every few months in the paper. It's not like JROTC that's involved in community service all over the place. These courses, again, kind of go unheralded in the school, but they're great classes, and sometimes they're offered for a half a year, sometimes they're offered for a full year, sometimes there's 2 sections that are semesterized. So I really wanted to spend a few minutes to highlight those for you, as I think it's important, as we are a comprehensive high school, excuse me, and we're trying to provide a well-rounded education, and oftentimes these electives drive future decision-making for many of our students in regards to vocation, college majors, things of that nature. So I think it's important to highlight these. And again, a lot of them are flying under the radar. So I thought I'd start off with 2 of our seniors, excuse me, that are taking virtual high school classes, and these happen to be AP classes they're actually taking online. So what I did, I should backtrack a little, what I did was I decided for a morning I'd go around and just take pictures of many of these electives. Unfortunately, there are way too many electives than the time I had to take pictures, and they all obviously don't meet at the same time. So I took a few snapshots I'd like to share with you and just highlight what they are, and then I'd like to spend a little time talking about the courses that we do offer. We offer woodshop classes, and we have 4 levels of woodshop classes that we offer. Ceramics classes, we have 3 levels of ceramics classes that we offer. Video production, which I think one of Alana is one of our graduates of at least video 1 and 2, and she's here working for WCTV. And ironically, Nico is in this picture here, who sometimes has that seat over there as well. JROTC, again, I mentioned they're very involved in community service, but they also have courses that are offered here at the high school, including a drill class and map reading classes. Our art program is phenomenal. We have art. This is a picture of a student in Art 1 class. Ironically, it's Mr. Minkle's grandson. We also have students in Art 2. We have a zoology class that is probably one of our most popular courses. Engineering course, more with the engineering. Intro to Dramatic Arts is a fairly new course, but very popular. Our astronomy class, the students actually, I had a chance to catch them outside of school, ironically after a school committee meeting last year. So this was one that I had in my archives. So I wanted to talk a little bit about how students get enrolled in these electives, and some of the courses that we categorize as electives are also requirements. So students must have a semester of SAT prep as a junior, a full year of business, which could be 2 half-year courses, and a full year of art. So when do they get these courses? It's kind of backloaded more towards when they're an upperclassman. Because of the requirements, both locally and at the state level, freshmen don't have a lot of opportunities for electives in their freshman year, but it starts to lighten up as they go through the 4-year process. So the freshmen have the equivalent of 3 half-year courses. So it could be 1 full-year course and a half-year course, or 3 half-year courses. Sophomores, as they move up, there's a little bit less on the requirement end. They could have 5 half-year courses. So again, potentially 2 full-year courses and a half-year course, or anything that aligns to that 5 half-year courses. The juniors have the equivalent of 7 half-year electives, and this is because some students, there's a 2-year foreign language requirement. Some students will stay on as part of those 7 half-year electives, continuing on with Spanish 3, French 3, IB foreign language, and then the senior year they have the equivalent of actually 9 half-year electives. So there are a lot of opportunities for students to become enrolled in these courses, and as you can imagine, this really excites the students. When they come into high school, they can kind of dictate some of the classes that they're going to take, where prior to high school, most of this is prescribed for them. I know we talk about AP, but I think it's phenomenal that we have over 8 AP offerings at our school for a school our size, while still being able to run our IB courses. And I know you'll have a future presentation on IB, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. We have the dual enrollment program for 8th graders, and also the dual enrollment program for Bridgewater State University. These are for students in grades 10 through 12. We have 3 vendors that we use for distance learning, and all students are required to take an online course. We use 3 vendors: Edgenuity, Edmentum, and VHS. The picture I showed at the beginning of this presentation, those 2 students were involved in VHS, which is also called Virtual High School. All 3 programs are great programs. It's really about the fit for the student. But we feel it's important for our students to take an online course, because whether it's a hybrid or an online course, the chances are when they're in college, they're going to be taking some form of online education. And it's been really successful for our students. It also creates a lot of flexibility, because sometimes when students are taking so many advanced courses, there's a log jam for a course that they need. So this is a great venue because it's open every period of the day, and it's housed in our library. So I'm going to just blast through these because I really want to mention all these electives, and it wouldn't be possible without the teachers' flexibility, as I mentioned in 2011, picking up an extra class, because as you know, as we unfortunately have had to make some cuts, what gets cut, the core classes have to run, so what happens is electives get cut, and we're really in a nice place where students have a lot of options. Some of these classes may only be offered for half year, some of these classes may be offered for both semesters, and some are year-long courses. So I'd just like to mention all these. I try to come up with a fancy way of doing this, and I don't think there's any other way than just to say them out loud. So accounting, age of mythology, anatomy and physiology, architectural drafting and design, art 1 through 4, business marketing, careers and childcare, ceramics 1 through 3, competitive team sports, computer animation 1 and 2, concert band 1, 2, 3, and 4, craft studios, creative writing 1 through 4, culinary arts 1 through 4, entrepreneurship, film study, forensic science, fundamentals of music, graphic design 1 and 2, guitar 1 and 2, hotel and tourism, introductory to astronomy, introductory to computer science, introductory to dramatic arts, introductory to engineering, introductory to musical theater, journalism 1 through 4, JROTC 1 through 4, marketing 1 and 2, piano, power up, personal safety, psychology, sports and entertainment, video production 1 through 4, virtual business, wood 1 through 4, yearbook construction and design 1 through 4, and zoology. So those are all of our elective offerings, and I appreciate the opportunity to highlight some of them. I had a couple other pictures I wanted to share with you. You may have noticed downtown is a lot cleaner. Our AP environmental students went downtown this week and cleaned up everything on Main Street, and you can see the results of their efforts there in those garbage bags. And I thought I'd end with our 2 awesome foreign exchange students we have this year, Sophie and Paul. They've acclimated so well into the high school, and it's just great having them on board. So again, appreciate the time to talk about electives. I feel they're very important in the student's high school experience, and again, being a comprehensive high school, we enjoy having those course offerings. So thank you. Certainly answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Mary?
So it looks like you definitely have a great variety of electives. I just have 2 questions. One is, I know that, students who are struggling, don't you have extra courses, and would that be at the same time as the electives, or?
So what we try and do is we try and create a balance so those students have opportunities to take those electives. Sometimes we might do things like backload Spanish or foreign language, I should say. So maybe freshman year they don't take the foreign language because our graduation requirement is 2. Most colleges want the 2 years, some want 3, and more competitors want 3. So it still gives them an opportunity to take 2 or 3 years of a foreign language. We're very creative with our scheduling, and that would allow for the courses that you mentioned they may need to take, such as maybe it's a core academic class because of their IEP, or perhaps it's a core English or core math because of their MCAS scores. So we do have flexibility. Sometimes we'll move a health class instead of taking a freshman year, they'll move it to sophomore year, because as you saw, every year the schedule opens up a little bit more for these type of courses. So where there's a will, there's a way. Our guidance department does an awesome job of juggling all this, and obviously if there's an IEP involved, Andrea Cannon, our special ed department head, gets involved, and they do a great job making sure we meet the needs of the students, because these courses, like athletics for some kids, are what kids are excited about taking. We had I'll give you a little story. We had a kid last year who had a little bit of an attendance problem, and when we dissected it, we noticed that he came in on days A and C, and then I said, what class does he have A and C that he's always here on time and here all day? It was culinary class. We got that fixed, I'm glad to report, but it was these are courses that really excite students. And you know, sometimes it's not the math, English, history, and science. It's these courses that they get entrenched with, and they get involved sometimes after school, because a lot of these courses also have an after-school component that gets them excited. So it's great to see, you know, and it's different for every kid. There's not one size fits all. So we have these classes, and some kids will go through 4 years of woodshop. Matter of fact, we had one kid who took 5 years of woodshop. He wanted to double up, and we were able to create a section for him. So we're pretty flexible, and we try, and, you know, it's student-driven, and we try to do whatever we can to help those kids.
Good. I mean, that would be my main concern, is that the students who are struggling aren't able to access, like, wood shop and culinary.
Sure.
Because that definitely, in many cases, would be a motivating, you know, situation for them.
It's a carrot at the end of the stick,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And then my last question is about the careers in childcare.
Yes.
So do they have the opportunity to go out to, say, preschools and even our own preschool?
They do, and we've got great connections in the community with our preschool. We have a school to career course that's offered in the afternoon, both days, A and C and B and D, and I believe there's 2 of them, actually, ironically, on the same road that they stop on, right on Sandwich Road there.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so we have 2 stops on that bus, and
Oh, good.
they've been great businesses that have worked with us for many years, and it's been great having the 2 of them involved with the School to Career program, but also giving these students those opportunities.
Good, I'm glad to hear that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other?
So from the transition from middle school to high school, is there an introduction to the 8th graders on the different choices they would have?
Yes, the biggest introduction that we do is probably the presentation that we do over here, where we talk about the different course offerings and opportunities that those students have. We channel it down so we wouldn't be advertising, you know, the 3s and the 4s for, say, ceramics, or any of the courses for that matter, because those are more, you know, those are for the juniors and seniors traditionally. But we talk about classes that they can sign up for. We actually do a presentation in here. We also do a presentation in the classrooms with the middle school and high school guidance counselors. And then the guidance department here does an awesome job as well as answering questions after the fact. Prior to that, we do some shadow days as well. We'll be doing in the late fall. We'll continue to do that, so students actually get an opportunity to kind of shadow another freshman and see the courses that they're taking and take a look at the rigor and the expectations. So I think it's a great opportunity for them. But as far as the electives, the biggest piece is when we come over and do the presentation. Students will leave the classroom presentation with a course selection sheet that has a grid for them to fill out based on their choices. We ask them to fill out their top 4 elective requests, and then down the bottom we have what we call alternate electives. If the computer scheduling system doesn't allow them to get into those courses, we then go to the alts, and the students do an awesome job, and I'd say they get the majority of their first choice electives.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's an awesome list. I've been on the committee a long time, and I had no idea that the list was that extensive. And I am certain back in the Middle Ages, I didn't have that level of choice when I was going to high school.
I didn't either.
First of all, how many of these courses are classified as Chapter 74?
So the marketing course would be Chapter 74, entrepreneurship.
You don't need to name them, but is it half a dozen or?
No, less than that.
Less than that, okay, because a lot of those courses seem like pretty hands-on types of courses.
Correct.
But they're not, okay. If a kid showed up in 9th grade and already was certain they wanted to be something, you know, a cook, an engineer, a carpenter, whatever, okay? But they wanted the rigor that your high school offers in terms of a liberal arts education.
Right.
How many types of things do you think you could give them that they would have courses, maybe only a half-year course, but at least some kind of course for 4 years? You mentioned woodworking, for example.
Correct.
Do we have the capacity to do that for people who wanted to be a chef? Do we have that to be people who wanted to be an engineer? How many of those could they carry on for 4 years? Because I think if parents knew that, that would be a
Right.
powerful thing.
So, yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. So the majority of, you know, the wood shop, the culinary, you saw 1 through 4, but engineering, maybe you only saw 1. We're starting to build those programs up as the students from the STEAM program continue on to the high school. You saw computer science. We'd like to put a number 2 on there as well.
Exactly.
So this is the first group, these freshmen are the first cohort, if you will, to come through the STEAM Academy. They're now freshmen. So we hope to, as they continue on, put a number 2 next to some of these. I mean, that's how, when you see 1, 2, 3, 4, that's, you know, you start off with a 1, next year you go to the 2, hopefully you can continue on. So we hope to have, in the end, a dozen of those type courses where they could take that course every single year and satisfy that need, because like you said, it's very, you know, to be in a college prep program, you know, the rigor and expectations are a little bit different than a vocational program where you're in academic classes for half the time. We feel, you know, for students that want to go into those fields, this is a great opportunity for them to get the best of both worlds. They're getting a taste of, say, carpentry, you know, not to the same extent they would being in that class for 90 days, but they're in the class for 83 minutes for, you know, sometimes 90 days, depending on the course, and they get that experience while they're still able to take advanced placement courses, while they're still able to go to Bridgewater State and take the dual enrollment courses. They have those opportunities. So I really think it's the best of both worlds, where they're learning skills in the trade, but also getting the college preparatory education.
I completely agree with you. It's the best of both worlds. I completely agree with your vision of expanding it to more of those types of professions. Even if you had to give up a few electives to get the 1, 2, 3, 4s for electives, I think it's worth the trade-off.
Sure.
So I think it's a great vision. Finally, I was under the impression that our Bridgewater State dual enrollment program was threatened by a transportation issue. Has that been resolved?
Well, we've been writing grants. I just sent one out yesterday. There's still, I don't want to say threatened, I don't want to scare people that the sky is falling, but you know, unfortunately, the grant that we had that covered that wasn't available. So we're writing grants and we're standing by the program. We promised the kids we would
We're
have.
standing by the program is the bottom line.
Right.
Great.
But it's not that we have a line item to cover it at this point.
I understand.
But we're gonna find a way. It's very important that we continue that program, because what we have now is the 4th cohort is now in 8th grade of dual enrollment students. So now the first group they're now juniors. So this is a pipeline that we need to maintain, because these kids want to be involved. You know, with the IB program as well, you know, that we want to, you know, we have that in place. So that, you know, unfortunately, that takes a few of the kids away from the dual enrollment, but it's still, I mean, it's a wonderful, wonderful option. I mean, these kids are finishing minimum, if they start as a junior, 1 year of their college education. Now, you know what the price is for tuition nowadays. It's a tremendous savings for the families, but more importantly for the student, there's no surprises when they go to college. Expectations, rigor, scheduling, managing your time. They're doing that under the watchful eye of their parents at this point in time. So when they do go on to college, hopefully for only 3 years, they're going to be ready and they're going to be very successful.
As you know, I had a student on the tennis team, Elise Abbott, who went through the dual enrollment program. She loved it. She even found your courses at the high school to be more rigorous than the BSU courses, which I thought was an interesting comment, but that's cool.
Just don't tell our students that.
Yeah, don't. But the bottom line is, it's a wonderful program, and I'm
Yes.
glad you're able to reassure parents that we're standing by it.
Yeah.
Just lastly, the virtual high school offerings, what kind of feedback do you get from the students about it?
It's challenging, it's demanding. That virtual high school, in my mind, is the most rigorous of the 3 programs. Again, I mentioned, because we have 3 programs, we can choose what's best for each student. And the VHS is very demanding. You need to be a person that manages your time well and stays to the timelines, because it can snowball if you don't stay current in the course.
So if someone wants to take Arabic or Chinese or something, it's a rigorous course.
And I encourage you, if you have some time, to go on the websites for all 3 of those vendors, because the beautiful thing, besides the flexibility and the ability to challenge our students, if there is a course that you can think of, one of those 3 vendors has it it's phenomenal, because as a school, a smaller school, there's only so many offerings you can have, and to have that online option, it's phenomenal. And I do want to mention, we were talking earlier about the different levels of courses. This is, you've heard me say with the course of studies, when we ask for that to be approved, it's a student-driven process. So these are the courses we're offering this year. I guarantee you there'll be at least a half dozen changes if I was to present this next year, based on what the students choose to take, because if there are enough students, we'll run the course. If there's not, we'll encourage a student to take it online if they want. If they don't, they'll have another option.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.
Why don't you send us, it'd be great, the link to those online courses so we could
Absolutely.
look at them?
Absolutely.
And then I'd like to piggyback on the questions that Jeff was asking about the continuum of courses, the electives for the 4 years, how you would be building upon that.
Sure.
And I think that's really important information to get out there, and I hope the press would help us get some information like that out there when you hear something like that, because the parents really need to know that we are the best of both worlds. We have the academic courses, and we have the other courses too, the electives, and that we try to reach everyone's interests. So that's it. Anyone else have any questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Thanks for having me here tonight. Thank you.
Now, Mr. McMillan, financial reports.
Good evening.
I circulated the monthly expenditure report through to the end of August. There's not a great deal to highlight here. It just as it's so early in the year. We hadn't even had the first teacher payroll by the end of August, so there's not been a huge amount of expenditure to this point. We're roughly about where we were at the same time last year. I do have a few transfer requests that I would like to do, it's really a housekeeping, just to make sure we're using the right account lines for purchases. This isn't any new purchases or anything different from what we've done in the past. It's just making sure it's coming out of the right account lines, so when it's reported to the state and so on, it's a true reflection of what we're doing. Is there any questions on any particular aspects?
How's the Finance Committee?
Finance Committee was good, so I was just presenting on the articles which are going to the town meeting, which we have a hand in. One is McKinney-Vento, which is fairly straightforward, and the other is the SPED Stabilisation Fund. So it was just trying to explaining what the purpose of that is and why we need it, and the value of that, having that stabilisation fund, and how that enabled us to reduce our general fund budget requests by $200,000. And I think it's important to stress that there's two sides to this. This isn't extra money, it's because we had to take it out of our budget in order to fund it. Any questions about anything?
I have
Go ahead.
I have a question about one of the transfers.
Yeah.
For the out-of-district coordinator.
Yep.
Is that a new position?
No, we had that last year. This is we've used contracted services. We have somebody who comes in and does a few hours. Well, yeah, they work some hours during the week, and they have a caseload of all our out-of-district students. So they go visit placements, ensure that students are getting the services they need, and also look to see where there's the scope to bring students back to the district or to move them to the right placements if they're not already in them.
So we did have that position
We did,
last
yeah,
year?
yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Is
we
it-
had, it's not a position because
had it
it's
for
contracted service, so it's,
several years.
but yeah, we had it last year. We had a similar.
Is it going to cost 30,000 more this year? Is that?
No,
is
no,
it
it's just actually,
35?
it's just moving it to the right account line, so, that, where it was budgeted is actually, so the code as that is reported to the state would actually means like medical therapeutic services, and that's not really what it is. It's more just a administrative contracted service.
Right, so I guess that was my question, that we're taking funds out of an account that would service students to.
So this, I mean, so it's just two things. One is it was budgeted in this account line. So if we, when I dig out this SPED workbook, budget workbook, there's a line under this account for $35,000 for a out-of-district coordinator.
Mhm.
So that's what it was budgeted for. It was just budgeted in the wrong
In the wrong
account line.
account.
And
And-
I would
Sorry, go ahead.
say, I was just going to add that it's very helpful for us to have that direct contact with those out-of-district students. So this is, without a doubt, a service for students,
Mhm.
because our out-of-district coordinator is going out and talking to, ensuring our students are receiving the services which we are paying for. So it's really important.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Can
you can
can I
go.
just add on to it, because I'd like to give you more background on that. It used to be a full-time position. I
Yeah.
actually had that position.
Okay.
So we are saving money in that now. It's only a half-time position. The only thing is, in my opinion, what was really valuable about it being full-time was I was able to go into the district programs and take a look at how they were going and also how the students were, and give suggestions on how, keeping the children in district.
Mhm.
So I assume the special ed director is probably doing that piece of it. But the out-of-district, even though it sounds like it's not a, because it's not, doesn't sound like it's directly affecting students, it really is.
Oh, I
especially
understand. I mean,
with-
those are students who are out of district.
Well, and also, like Michael said, you have someone there that has direct contact with the schools, the outside schools, and who I'm sure also, which I did too, was go into the outside schools, taking a look at their programs and the students and whether or not they were ready to come back as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
So I want to give that background because we actually are saving money because it was a full-time position.
Okay,
Thank
good,
you.
thank you. Thank you.
My question is just that tonight we were asked to get funds into the correct account.
Yep.
So that was just the money's there.
Yes.
It was just an oversight. It just
Yeah,
is in
yeah,
the
well,
wrong
basically,
account.
yeah,
We're just
so
making a correction.
It's just constantly trying to tidy up, ensure our accounts reflect, as we're reporting this information to the state, and also as making budget decisions, it
Mhm.
reflects the reality of what's. So when you look at a fund and you say, that when you determine a budget for a major account, as that should be a true reflection of what's actually being spent on the ground,
Mhm.
and that's not always. So just whenever I come across something that's in the wrong place, we put it in the right place, and just try and keep that going.
And I just want to echo a little bit about the out-of-district. It's a very important job to keep track that the students are getting the services that we're paying for, that they're in the correct placement. But then on the reverse of that is, you really get a very good handle of the students ready to come back.
Mhm.
Also, by having one person do that, overseeing it as a part of a job, they know if there's possibly a cohort group out there of students who are being serviced outside the system, where we may be able to offer a program in-house at a cost savings too. So it's very cost effective, and it's just cost effective.
And
for
I would
something
just
that's
add that
needed.
one of my experiences, working with Mary and so on, is that maintaining a link with these students is really important, because they they're not within a district school anymore. So it's not like they have a principal overseeing them or anything like that. So maintaining someone who can, or having someone who can maintain that contact is really important.
And transitions begin a year
Transition,
ahead of time,
yeah.
because you have to look at an IEP on an annual basis, and so
Yeah.
if you're gonna be, you have to be on top of it to transition a student in also.
Interestingly, I just pop, one last thing I'll say. So, in preparation for the presentation to the FinCom this afternoon, I was looking at a churn of our out-of-district students. So, how many students, year to year, how many students is that there? Were they receiving out-of-district tuition services the previous year? And I found that, and this is just some quick, Excel math, but 30% of the students, on average over the last 5 years, 30% of the students receiving out-of-district tuition services were not receiving those services the year before. Were not receiving any out-of-district tuition the year before. And 20% of the students receiving out-of-district tuition this year will not be receiving it next year. So that can be for a whole host of reasons. So that can be people moving in and out of the district. That can be students moving back into in-district or moving out of district. Students aging out, students just enrolling and so on. But it was just a real eye-opener for me, the amount of churn, the amount of change going on within that student body. And I mean, that was it.
Just a quick follow-up on that question.
Yeah,
So you've got some percentage where there's a churn,
yeah,
but you also have the opposite, where a big chunk,
Yeah.
year after
Yes.
year after year, are staying as out of district?
yes, 100%.
Okay, so a subset churns,
Yes,
and another subset never churns.
yep.
Right. Are we just talking about the transfers, or are we talking about the other report now as well?
I think we were still on the transfers, because do we have to vote on these transfers?
Yes, we
So
do.
we
But
I
I
can
wasn't
take-
sure what Michael,
He
Sorry.
started with
had you,
this, so.
had you combined both?
That's maybe my fault, yes. Well, I very quickly, I said, I didn't have any
So with
particular
the
highlight
chair's
here.
permission, I have a question about the overall report, if that's okay.
Yep, I had one too.
Okay.
Go right ahead.
So I was surprised to see student transportation services. A year ago, we had spent 15% of the budget, and now we've spent less than 5% of the budget. Now, recognizing this is a fiscal year report,
Yep.
meaning it started July 1st, was last year an anomaly, or is this year an anomaly?
So, I'm just playing for time, hold on.
Page 17, I guess it is, or 18, sorry, page 18.
So, I did notice that as well. So, I think, let me get back. I think it might be timing of payroll, something simple as that. So because we might have had the first week of school last year and not yet this year.
Because if we
So let me
really,
double
I
check.
mean,
But I believe that's
my
what it
colleague
is.
at the end knows that if we can save some money here, we know what we'd like to do with it.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want to jump to, I don't want to
join
jump
the
to
queue.
I don't want to jump to a conclusion, but 10%
Yeah, I'm
savings
pretty
this
sure.
early is remarkable. But I'll wait to get back, for you to
Okay,
get back
yeah,
to
let me
us.
double check on it, but I think it's just timing.
And if you could just, because I suspect everybody cares about this, if you get an answer, if you could tell
Yeah.
all of us what the answer is.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Give you all the same answer.
Excuse me?
The same answer.
Yes,
No,
that
no.
would be great. Yes, the same answer to each person, right.
Okay. I have a question about page 15, the programs with other systems in Massachusetts.
Yep.
The percent remaining is 1% in the ending balance. I mean, the money's almost all
Yeah, so
gone, and it was
this is-
28% last year, so I didn't understand what's
So-
going on there.
Last year, so this is our tuition payments to Bristol Agricultural College. So last year, we had fewer students enrolled at this point. So we pay in two payments, but we create a purchase order for the entire amount. And at this point, so the entire amount takes all but 1.2% of it.
So you finished, you made the
Yeah.
payments? Okay.
Yes, last year we had some money left over because there was fewer students. And
Okay.
this year, sadly not.
Does anyone else have any question about this part of the report? The payments? No? Are we ready to return to the transfers then?
Absolutely.
Are there any questions about the transfers or any point you'd like to make, Mr. McMillan?
No, I mean, I would just, so the majority of these, all but one, is really just moving funds which had been previously approved or have been done previously into the right account line, and then just a slight shift of focus in curriculum to allow move from professional development to program supplies of $7,000.
Okay.
Move approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, 500. Thank you.
Thank you. I do have one more item on the agenda, which is just to
Oh,
vote,
okay.
the vote to approve the establishment of
Oh.
the Special Education Fund establishment. So basically, under the, now that that's on the town meeting warrant, the first step is you have to approve it first. I mean, although you approve the article, technically you also just have to approve the establishment of the fund. So under the legislation, it's both has to be approved by both the school committee and the local, and the town legislative body, which is town meeting.
Mhm.
So I would ask for your approval for the establishment of the stabilization fund.
Go ahead.
I'll move it for discussion.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second it.
I think it's great that I understand the circumstances that caused this to happen as a part of the budget negotiation last year,
Yeah.
and I think it was all in good faith, and I think it's really a good thing for us to have this. It is very much like, of course, the stabilization fund that the town has.
Yeah.
And those of us who have lived here for a while recognize that there were years where we had almost nothing in the town stabilization account. And to the great credit of this current town administrator, we have gradually built it up to the point where it's helped our bond rating, and it's helped us feel more secure as a town from a fiscal perspective. I think we need to make that same argument so that each year we put a little bit more
Yeah.
into this account as a matter of principle until we get to the number that you think, and I think last
Said
time we
400,
met, you
yeah.
mentioned that it should be probably 400,000 to 500,000
Yep.
in the account. So I think just, we should, as a committee and as a business manager and superintendent, we should be thinking about this on an annual basis, trying to get up to that number of, say, 500,000. Because I think it would make the budget process a whole lot easier
Yeah.
if we knew we had that as a cushion.
Yeah, I agree. And I also like that it gives you, it's all very transparent,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
gives you a structure, and it's very clear.
And the selectmen have to approve
Yeah. So they
the
get to
removal
see-
of funds.
It's the sharp end, get to see
Right.
what's going on.
So that's something we also need to get out to the public, that this is the purpose of this stabilization?
Yeah.
So maybe the press could help us with that, too.
So there was an article.
Well,
You do
my-
believe in a free press, don't you?
Yes, I do,
Okay.
and my friend Selectman Titlebaum suggested that anytime I thought something was important, I could turn to the press and say, I think this is important. So as you see, I'm a very apt student.
Can I ask you a question, Judy?
Yep.
Is there a limit on the amount that can be put? Isn't there a percentage of the
There is a
total
limit of
school
our total
budget that
expenditure,
can
yes,
go in?
about-
Okay.
But I think that for us, I do have this, I can check, but it's below the limit at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I have to check.
That's a great question, though. Any idea what it is?
Yeah.
It's a percentage of the total budget.
A,
Total budget or total sped budget?
there's a, I know this, I thought it was here.
Pretty sure there's no limit
So
on
it's
the town.
the balance in the reserve fund cannot exceed 2% of the annual required net school spending of the committee
So you're saying
Which
it's
is
2% of the annual net
of the
spend?
total budget, yeah.
That's a lot of money, though.
No,
No?
no, that's right in line with what Michael said.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we got up to
Percentage,
about
maybe
500,000, that would not be exceeding it.
Right,
Okay.
it's not the amount we're asking right now. You
If I'm
meant
d-
No.
up to the half
Yeah,
million.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm doing the math correctly in my head.
No, for that it is, not for the amount we're asking for now.
Oh, yeah.
What
Oh, we're
we're,
well under.
Well
Well,
under.
yeah.
But even if we
So
got
if we were
to,
about to, if about 400 would be about there, and that would also be,
you think,
that's why I suggested
So-
400 would be.
so
given
net
s-
school is almost
about-
30 million, right?
27, so.
Yeah,
So that would be over 500,000.
yep.
Okay, so you're right in line with the, well, that's a
540.
great question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
I thought it was like 600,000 would be the limit when I looked at it.
that's all right. It's the right order of magnitude.
Yep,
Right.
I understand it now. I wanted it to make sense, math sense, yep. Are we, now we can vote on this? Do we have the discussion? All those, can we go right? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
500.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll turn it over to Madam Superintendent.
Thank you. Acceptance of gifts. I would like to recommend that the committee accept one high-top table and 5 stools valued at $1,195 from Cardi's Furniture to the Wareham Middle School, and a $1,500 grant from the Cape Cod 5 Cents Savings Bank Charitable Fund Foundation Trust to the Wareham Public Schools toward the Living Literacy Eyes for Preschool. These funds will help purchase 4 smart TVs and the relating cable. So I'd ask the committee to vote acceptance, and then I'd be thrilled to explain in detail.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second it.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 500.
So I'd just like to spend a few minutes because this just shows some of the ingenuity of our teachers and staff. The high-top table really is something that you would use outside on your patio. But as one of our teachers was walking through Cardi, she started talking and wanted to invite them in to see some of the projects that are going on between what the students are creating and the business and how it interrelates. Well, they weren't able to come, but they said, you know, we'd really like to support you. How about this table? And of course, we jumped at it. But the unique thing with this is the creativeness. We have taken paint, white smartboard paint, and we've painted some of our desk and our tables that kids then can write on this. But they decided to take shower wall kind of backboard, and it's the white slick kind. So they've cut it, they put it on the on the table, and instead of painting now, we've used that, and so kids can write on with whiteboard marker, wipe it off, and because it's a high top, we have kids rushing to class so they can be the ones using the table. And when you look at it, you think, wow, that's pretty easy to build. And so we hope we have some people taking it up because our kids are really liking the different kind of tables to work from. And so we're trying to work with students at different levels and chairs. They also have a low-top table in there, so if kids want to sit on the floor, they have the table that will be at that height. So it's really quite interesting to watch the different heights and the way we're trying to engage our students. So that's the use of this. The other one with the smart televisions, as you know, our Minot Forest electrical problem is such that we cannot really add to with projectors. Our preschools need to have that interactive boards. However, because of the limits that we have due to the system, we've not been able to do any kind of projectors that really are interactive. But smart televisions, we can stream up to the smart television with our different computer systems and still get the interactiveness. So we're thrilled that our preschool will now be able to have this kind of technology and appreciate both the Cape Cod 5 Cents Savings Bank as well as Cardi's Furniture for these generous donations.
So, thank you to both.
Mhm.
Of course, we have high tops now in the cafeteria.
We do.
That's
Aren't
great.
those nice? Yeah. Okay, I would like to ask you to approve bill and warrant payments. So the payroll ending the week of September 9th, 2017, in the amount of $125,038.55, as well as payroll ending 9/21 in the amount of $860,606.99. Our bill warrant for the September 21st in the amount of $62,084.34. And I have two for September 28th, one in the amount of $52.25 and $196,165.42. I would ask for you to move approval.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
500.
I have a couple of other items that I'd like to share. First of all, October 5th at 6 o'clock, right here in the middle school auditorium, I will have a public forum or a public meeting. I would invite any parents, community members that would like to come and talk to us about our transitions between elementary and middle. We'd love to hear your thoughts and suggestions. And then we'd also like to be able to share some of the exciting opportunities that await your child during the upcoming school year. So I would urge you to come. Begins at 6 o'clock, and we'll also have a time for question and answer. The Wareham Historical Society is holding a golf tournament on September 30th at Little Harbor. I would urge you, if you like to play golf, to please join in. This will be for a scholarship for a high school senior in the area of history. So it's beneficial to our students, and they're desperately looking for members. And then finally, I'd just like to share that what a wonderful group of students that we have, and we all know this, and we say this frequently, but today we had been collecting goods for the Harvey relief that we're sending to Houston, and the amount of gifts, donations, just amazing that our students brought in. So we're very proud of their spirit in helping others, and they just need to be recognized. So thank you very much. That concludes what I have to say tonight.
Thank you. Next, we have school committee business, and we need to nominate an official voting delegate for the Mass Conference. And I know I've asked Jeff, because he's the one that's very involved and has done it for a number of years, if he would be nominated. And he said, yes, so I'd like a nomination. Yes, may I?
As long as
You
Other
can
peop-
nominate anyone else, too.
As long as other people who are going to be there don't want to do it.
Yep.
Because I've done it a number of years,
Yep.
and anybody who's going to be there and would like to do it.
Anyone. So, is anyone else interested in doing it at this moment? That's why I talked to him a little bit just before the meeting tonight. So,
But you do need an alternative, just in case.
okay.
It's on the form. You have to have a delegate and an alternative in case something happens.
Are you going to be there?
Are you looking at me?
Yes. Just because I
Yes.
can't be there, so I wanted to ask.
Oh, okay, yes.
So, could we have a nomination? Can I make a nomination?
Nope.
I'd like to nominate Jeff.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Thank you so much, Lori.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? I mean, which one?
I don't care. 500.
500, thank you. Now, may I have a nomination for an alternate?
I'd like to make a nomination for choice for alternate.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? 500. Thank you. And let's see, there was one other.
I don't know, with all those notes, how you can figure out.
I know what I'm doing. Let's see, I know what it was. That we did, it was the Scholarship Foundation. The Nye Scholarship Foundation.
Oh, that's right.
And we do,
Didn't we do that last time?
yes, I just want to tell you, he was reappointed.
Oh,
I
good.
just wrote
Peter.
Peter
Balzerini.
Balzerini
Right.
was reappointed to be on the committee for the Nye Scholarship.
Great.
Is there any other business that has not been anticipated? Would anyone like to speak?
Move to adjourn.
So
Second.
it is. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Bye-bye.